ندعو السيد تيو دي جاجر الرئيس المنظمة الدولية للفلاحين لإعطاء كلمته. تفضل.
Every generation has its war. Our fathers saw the Second World War. Our grandfathers saw the First World War, and both of those wars changed the world forever. The big war of our generation is a war on poverty and hunger. And the main battlefield of that war is Africa. And we are the last generation with a chance to win that war. In order to win that war, we need, like in any war, a comprehensive strategy. Dear Minister, dignitaries, dear engineers of Africa, thank you so much for having invited me as a farmer to attend this conference of the brightest minds in the world of engineers. Because as farmers, we know you are some of our most important allies in this war. And allow me to share with you just a few bullet points on strategy. You see, this war has a knock-on effect that runs through every other sector of our lives. Global politics. This is why some politicians want to build walls to keep poverty out. That is why countries break out of international partnerships like Brexit. This is why immigration is such an issue. Europe, Middle East, Africa. People are fleeing the enemy, poverty and hunger. Now, speaking to you as a farmer from Africa, I have, before I joined WFO, also been involved in the Pan-African Farmers Organization, and I'm so grateful to see my colleague, Mr. Ezar Abelhamedjad, the president of the Pan-African Farmers Organization here today. We organize the poorest of those farmers too. It's so ironic that the very people who are in the business of producing food and fiber are also the most needy, most hungry. There are clear and evident problems in our food systems that caused this war in the first place. We do not have a shortage of food in the world. We produce enough. The food is not where the people are hungry. And it costs too much to get it there. It costs today less to get a container shipped in the USA and bring it down the Mississippi across the Atlantic to Cape Town Harbor than what it costs to move it from Cape Town to Lusaka. In changing these food systems, it is absolutely essential that we plan together. And planning is not only about production, it's about completing value chains. You know why we talk about value chains in agriculture? Because you cannot push a chain. You can only pull it. And the pulling force is the market. And when it's about food systems, the market are the consumers. Housewives who decide what the family will eat tonight. Chefs in restaurants who are setting trends and create new fashion. Food lost and wasted in value chains in the world today has just surpassed 40% of everything produced. This makes the war very complicated. We do not fight it only on one front. Now we must remember that most probably within our own lifetimes, we will have 2 billion more mouths to feed on the globe, and 1 million of those will come from this continent. Hence, we need some desperate action. And the action need to be on 4 fronts. First, on policies. Your function as an organization of engineers is first and foremost to influence policy. That's why you gather in this way. This is why we have national farmers organizations, continental farmers organizations, and the World Farmers Organization. We try to influence policy. And those policies should address the real issue of poverty. Now, if you forget everything which a simple farmer from South Africa wants to say to you today, remember this part, please. There's only one way to beat poverty, and that is through the creation of wealth. There's only one way to destroy poverty, and that's by creating wealth. And there's no sector of the economy of Africa that can do that in a shorter space of time on a broader basis, more efficiently than agriculture can. Producing food and fiber from the soil, and we already have around half of our population in that sector. Our challenge is a mindset of smallholder farming, and there's nothing for which I got in more trouble than saying this. But I made a commitment to those smallholder farmers that I will never waste an opportunity to say that again. The current paradigm of smallholder farming in Africa is a poverty trap. There's an over-romanticization of the concept of smallholder farming. FAO says in its 2012 study for family farming, on which the 2014 year of family farming was based, that the average farmer in Africa farms on less than 1 hectare. In the next chapter, that the average yield in staple foods, maize and cassava, is less than 1 ton per hectare. Now, just do the maths. Over the last 10 years, the average price of maize was $190 per ton, which means the turnover on that land-based enterprise is around 50 cents a day. Who can live like that? That's the definition of poverty. We should not strengthen that through our policies. We should destroy that. We should destroy that through modernization, which means mechanization and commercialization. We should ensure that every farmer out there is, no matter how small, that he is a businessman, that he earns a profit from his farming enterprise, and that he does that in a sustainable way. That is what the strategy is all about. But the strategy is also about fighting climate change at the same time. No one is as vulnerable to climate change than the world's farmers are. And we know no one can do more about it, also in a shorter space of time, than the world's farmers can. And then, lastly, it had been alluded to, so I do not take the risk, or do not take it alone, to be politically incorrect. The Achilles heel for the kind of development which we need to fight poverty in agriculture in Africa is governance. We have issues on this continent with poor governance, and as long as you have to pay something extra to cross a border or to let the transaction go through between countries in Africa or to release shipments from harbors, that's how long we will suffer. All of our strategy will hinge on our ability to wipe out nepotism, corruption, and poor governance on our continent. And it does not start with politicians. It starts right at the bottom, amongst farmers, policemen, engineers. I want you to dream with me about a day. And when I ask you this, I want to remind you of Japan that was destroyed by 2 nuclear bombs. And right after that, Kaiser Showa challenged the Japanese to dream with him of a day. He said, 25 years from now, when no one on the face of the world must be in a position not to trade with Japan. And you remember the 1960s, made in Japan, which you could buy at any shop, but it meant low quality, cheap stuff, unreliable. And then in 1975, Kaiser Miki changed that paradigm too, challenging the Japanese to dream with him about a day when made in Japan would mean high quality, high tech, reliable. Whom of you would have guessed in the 1980s that China would today be in such a dominant economical and political position? Dream with me about a day within our lifetimes, 25, 30 years from now, when the brand produced in Africa will be available as the preferred products on the shelves in shops across the globe. It starts with us. Thank you.